Alrighty, so good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is I'll name this segment later. GTG spits that grease, so on and so forth. Title for the works. If the title hasn't given me away yet, ladies and gentlemen, I have a question. I have a question for those of you who care about this particular thing. Can Boogie2988 and Keemstar and the lolcow universe as a whole survive without Wings of Redemption? And if so, why do they want him back so badly? Now, this should be on the cuffs of my Wings of Redemption. Why is Wings of Redemption fearful to going back to lolcow live? So this should be coming out after that. So you should have already seen that one. If not, stuff happens. You'll get some of it, but it is what it is. How do we start? Well, if you guys have been paying attention to lolcow live, if you haven't, I don't blame you. Besides the snakening, if you will, of Becky Boop, and last time I heard Review Tech USA is running around here taking victory laps and that shit. They are desperate to get Wings back. They are desperate to get Wings back. And my thing is, and I think this is pretty obvious if you guys watch, Hollywood Huggy, Round 1. I think there's another clip channel. I think they're called Ozzy something. I can't think of their full name right now. My bad. But because I watched them too, you know what I'm saying? I've actually used their videos in my videos. So there's them. And then you have lolcow alerts if they've been covering it. I gotta do the video on that, speaking about that situation if I haven't done it already. The viewership is down and whatnot. There's an interesting thing that goes on over there at lolcow. This is going to be just a quick detour. You got shows over there who get very little views, which is, it is what it is. Most of them are new anyway. But they get very few views, but they make a lot of money. You got shows that get a lot of views and get very little money. And then you got some of them that I swear that it seems like some of their stats are padded. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything at the moment, but it don't look completely or totally on the up and up. In any case, viewership on lolcow live has been down. No one's denying that. No one can dispute that or debate that. It's just the reality of it. If lolcow live isn't doing well, then everything else suffers, to be honest. So let's look at things from lolcow live's, the lolcow universe perspective. Let's say that the lolcow universe was established by or because of lolcow live, lolcow queens, and then rewind and whatnot. Just calling spade a spade. Those are the three. That was the triangle offense, if you will, that is the cornerstone and should be the three main jewels in the crown of lolcow universe. Now, lolcow rewind has had its ups and downs for various reasons. Lolcow queens is basically demolished. I don't even know who's over there anymore now that Becky isn't there. So that is what that is. And with losing Wings and then having all of these revolving seats from Rastov to CD-ROM to whoever that chick is they got up there now, which if I remember correctly, she's from Cafe. She's temporarily warming the seat up until they can get somebody else in there. The brand has been debased, I think. Whether it's still, whether it brings in money or not is one thing or another, but it doesn't make what it could make. It doesn't make what it should make. And Keem can go ahead and boast about whatever the fuck he wants. But the reality is that he has failed. As one would expect. Like, you trying to monopolize, monetize, brand, lolcows as a whole it's not something that's ever been done. Like, monetizing lolcow content is one thing. They try to bring that into a 24-hour channel, try to build a network that's an all-in-one that speaks about lolcow shit is not something that has ever been done given how volatile lolcows are. And by proxy, how volatile some of the people who follow it, meaning some of those communities. Keem was trying to bring it all together under one shoot, and he himself has such a shitty reputation that it wouldn't have worked anyway. Like, we we talk about, oh, he needed, you know, DSP for LolCal Live to actually succeed. And I, to some degree, kind of agree with that. But my caveat is only in the short term. It wouldn't have lasted years upon years upon years. Sooner than later, there was going to be some type of problem or issue. You know what I'm saying? If there's one thing that is reliable about a LolCal, is a LolCal is always going to be a LolCal, which means they're always going to be looking out for themselves, looking to fuck over someone, believing that they're getting screwed over themselves, so on and so forth. So, Keem's initial strategy out the gates was bad. That's the reason why LolCal Podcast failed, and got screwed over the way it did. LolCal Live is even worse because the whole damn thing is scripted, and even whatever it is that isn't scripted, it comes across as being scripted, so it's automatically dismissed. On top of that, and I've said this since Jump Street, you can go back to some of my older videos talking about LolCal Live or LolCal Podcast. LolCal Podcast's success was completely and utterly based not so much on just DSP being there, but on the joint collaboration and contributions and contributing to LolCal Live from the Wings of Redemption troll community and the DSP detractor community. Oh, and the Boogie hate community too, if you will. That's what all three of those things were predicated on. And he didn't get any of it. I know Boogie tried to shoehorn himself in there, or not Boogie. I know Duty tried to get himself in there and try to finagle some situation, and then fucking Keem turned around and got his ass demonetized. So there's that. If I remember correctly, nobody on the Wing side of it was stupid enough to go for that deal, because the fuck they need him for? You know what I'm saying? They're gonna clip that shit. Keem knows that they're gonna clip that shit, and it's gonna get a bunch of views, which is gonna bring a bunch of attention back to Keem. But none of them had to step up or ask him to do business. Now, if I remember correctly, I think they wanted Breaking Banquet to come to the table, maybe, and I don't know what the situation around that is. I'm pretty confident Breaking Banquet was just like, nah, I'm good, not really interested, to be honest, if at least at that capacity. But I can't speak for him, for the man, because I don't know. But that's just my guess. But outside of that, that wasn't a thing, and that's where kind of Duty messed up. For one, Duty ain't been gotten too comfortable anyway. You're not supposed to be fucking out there frolicking with the fucking LolCals and shit. Not supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? Not supposed to be doing shit like that, but whatever. That's not gatekeeping, that's just advice. You of all people should know that now. Two, Duty should have just clipped that shit the way he clips DSP and just keep it pushing. End of story. End of story. You sitting there, Duty trying to suck up the Keem, or trying to work with him, or trying to do all this silly shit. It opened, look at what it did to him. Like, you know what I'm saying? You opened yourself up. And for what? Now, yeah, you're probably still in Keem's DMs now, talking, frolicking, whatever the fuck you guys do. But the reality is that the moment he got you demonetized, you know what I'm saying? That right there should have been the biggest wake-up call that Duty should have ever gotten. Can't trust the LolCal, bruh. Now I understand you're still cool with Rich, so you're deep into that whole LolCal sphere. So good on you, I guess. But you should know better, man. Can't trust the LolCal. You've been burned by a few of them, so I don't know why you felt the need to keep doing that shit. In any case, other people didn't make Duty's mistake, and that's why those guys kept pushing and whatnot. Duty's still out there, he's still doing his thing or whatever. But him getting demonetized was unnecessary. It's completely and utterly unnecessary. If Keem really needed the DSP detractor community in the way that he planned, then why did Duty get demonetized? The moment you can answer that, the moment you'll have an understanding of what that situation over there really is. With that being said, once Keem couldn't make that deal happen, when he couldn't get, detractors or trolls, haters or critics on board to give LolCal Podcast / LolCal Live all of that free advertisement, he was fucked. And from there, he should have went ahead and started his own clip channel at that point. But the thing is those streams don't bring in, they're not pulling 50,000 views or more, so it doesn't even warrant it. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're playing at that level, the way Keem's trying to do it, if those streams aren't pulling minimum. I'm talking about outside of, LolCal Live, LolCal Queens, and Rewind. I don't think Rewind has ever hit 15, 20,000 views. But if some of those shows aren't hitting between 20, I'd say honestly between 20 and 50,000 views, there's no point in having a clipper. It's just easier to have outside people do it. So he kind of has that to contend with, but that's just being realistic. Why are you going to pay someone to clip a bunch of shit when the streams themselves don't even have enough interest to even warrant it? Remember, the whole point of having clippers and editors to go out and do your shit is to bring in people that are outside of that viewership or outside of that interest and try to give something to appeal to them, like a mixtape, if you will. That's what Keem's going for. But if the main shows aren't pulling up numbers, then what's the point of having a clipper come in and do that? At least at that level. At least what he's trying to shoot for. So for LOLCal Live, they've definitely for the LOLCal universe, they've taken a major hit with Wings gone. A major hit, as well as some of the stupidity and ignorance that's gone on their own. They need Wings because Wings is a linchpin to the brand. He was there when it started. The brand was kind of, I would say, tailor-made or fitted to him, but it was all shoehorned together anyway. It was just an idea in Keem's head. There was no real planning or any forethought behind it. That's the reason why it's doing what it's doing now. But it's tailored. It's kind of meant for Wings. To be honest with you, they need it. They need that. And despite the hatred, the animosity, frustration, and maybe just general dislike that most people may have for Wings over there, they understand and they realize that if they can get him back on the show, they can get him back into the universe, then trickle down economics happens. Because as you know, they may not be able to get Wings to go off and do live events anymore, any of that. And if they're smart, they wouldn't want that anyway. Keep his ass on ice. Just send Kelly. But that's another thing too. When you get Wings, you get a free employee in Kelly as well. And Kelly's always up for doing some type of group activity or whatever. So you get that for free. You know what I'm saying? So that's very much, she's basically your ice cold 2-liter Pepsi to go along with your Zaxby's meal. For those of you who catch that reference, you know it. But so, you know what I'm saying? So you get the 2-liter Pepsi for free, or let's go ahead and give her the credit she deserves. You get the 36 can pack of flavored Pepsi to go along with it. Let's say cherry Pepsi. But sometimes she's sweet. She can be as sweet as cherry pie at times. So you get that. So that right there is a bonus and whatnot. And truth be told, I'm surprised they haven't made Kelly, or they don't put Kelly as a community manager in some way, shape, or form. Actually, hear me out, because now I'm going out on a bit of a tangent. So you have Rastov as a community manager, right? From what I'm hearing, he's pretty good at it. And to be honest with you, he kind of has the temperament for it, so to speak. He's going to come to you in a very respectful, kind manner and whatnot until you get the fuck up out of pocket. And then shit has to happen. Don't believe me? Look at that whole LOLCal alert situation. That kind of gives you the tail to tape. Truth be told, though, Rastov could probably need one or two other people. Could probably use one or two other people under him to kind of help him out. You know what I'm saying? So they're also in some of these other communities. They hear something. If they can't work it out themselves, or if they want to get some feedback, they can go right to Rastov, and then he can go ahead and give his verdict, if you will. Kelly would probably work out in that situation, to be honest with you. I think she would play well. Second person, I couldn't name anybody. I don't give a fuck. As it pertains to my analogy right now, I think Kelly would make a pretty good number 2. So now you get her for that. And then you break her off, $1,000 a fucking month or whatever, or $2,000 a month, and call that a day. So that could be a thing too if they're looking for an idea to shoehorn in. But you need Wings to kind of solidify the brand. Like I said, he doesn't have to go into any of the live events. Don't worry about that bullshit. But you can also have him tag along, or you could have him fill in for some of these other shows. That's what he did initially. He would show up to some of these other shows just to help out, fill in pockets and spots. Becky used to do that shit too. Boogie does it every once in a while, so on and so forth. They could make that happen. And I think they can use that as a guarantee in place of him going to live events. Speaking of which, let me explain that for a minute. The reason why Boogie and Wings do that, to be honest with you, is because they had ownership in LOLCal Live. And one could make the argument that in the LOLCal universe as a whole. So, as an owner, you need to kind of go out there and make sure that everything is running smoothly. It's not just a show that you're on. But also, as ownership, you have to handle everything, something DSP knows very little about. In turn, if they're not going to give Wings the same deal that he had originally, then okay, you're not going to live events anymore, but we need you to, if we need you to jump on a particular show on a particular day, will you do that? Are you willing to do that? And they could do that in place of it, and they can still get the value out of him without giving him ownership. So there's that. So Wings, theoretically, as a body, can as a body, he can fill some spots, he can fill some holes. And yet again, as I said in my Wings of Redemption video, Wings needs to go back himself. He needs the money. He needs the money, and he needs the reprieve. He's just not willing to face the consequences that reprieve is going to offer him. They're not going to just let him back in with open arms. He's going to have to take some hits. There are people that are going to have stuff to say. There are people that have some of the stuff that he's hearing now, he's going to hear in those Discords. He's going to hear on the streams, on the locale streams anyway. Just deal. You don't have a choice. You're just going to have to deal with it, whether you like it or not. That's just the reality of the circumstances. You're just going to have to deal. They need each other. I think the locale universe does need Wings, and Wings needs them. Can locale universe continue to hobble along the way they are? Sure, absolutely, and whatnot. But like I said, Raztalk wasn't a good fit. CD-ROM's not a good fit. The chick that's up there now, she's just a placeholder, and she's being paid allegedly between $2,000 and $4,000 a month to be a placeholder. So be it. I mean, unless you're gonna put someone like Yo Mama up there as a permanent thing, and they're not going to do that. I think he's on locale test, and I think he's occasionally on locale Queens. They're not going to put him up there. That's not a good idea for a variety of reasons. He's kind of good floating around. He's not going to be good on the main cast like that, to be honest. And that he's not even able to bring in the girl world audience that Keem was kind of banking on. But at least the way it's told to me, Yo Mama is funny. You know what I'm saying? There are people who like him. There's a lot of people who think he's annoying. There's nobody that really hates him, but they just think he's kind of annoying. But some people think he's funny at times. So, but he's not going to be a replacement for Wings. So there you go on that. So they need him back in pocket. Just need him there. You know what I'm saying? He's a founder. They need him there. And to be honest, even for the people who feel a certain type of way about him, they may find some type of solace in him being up there day after day. It is what it is. Because he ain't doing shit now. He's literally not doing shit now. Wings, I mean. Like, you can tell his mental state is breaking down by the day. It's almost getting as bad as fucking DSP in some cases. I think Keem understands that. He sees it. And he's like, fuck, we need to get him back here before he loses himself completely and he's completely useless. So there's the thoughts on that. I think that Locale Live, if they don't get him back, they'll just keep hobbling along. They'll keep doing stupid ass stunts and shit like that until someone gets really fucking hurt or killed, right? Or someone ends up driving themselves to offing themselves, and then it's just gonna all come to an end. Whether Wings is there or not, to be honest with you. But I think if Wings is there, at least on a day-to-day show, if you will, it mitigates some of the bullshit, if at the very least. And hopefully when they go and do these live events or meetups or whatever, maybe some people will think, you know what, I'm not really willing to do that dumb shit. Because truth be told, that's really what Wings represents. He represents the cautionary tale of fucking around and finding out. Of what happens when you try to push the envelope with fake drama to pull in clickbait views and someone really gets hurt in the long term. And I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Kelly. I'm talking about Locale Live Universe, or Locale Universe as a brand as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Just about everybody who was involved with that camp has the stench of what happened there. Whether the Becky thing, whether what happened to Kelly and the Wings nonsense, and then whatever other weird ass shit that hasn't fully come out yet. So yeah, because keep that in mind, just in case you guys don't know, there's a lot of nonsense that happened at that fucking fat camp that hasn't fully come out yet. So when will it come out? Not sure. But I need way more verification before I can start speaking on shit. But there's all kinds of rumors going out there about some of the fuckboy shit that happened out there. So we'll see what happens. I'm more interested if the orgy thing was really true or not. But we'll see. But a whole lot of weird ass fuckboy shit happened out there, allegedly. But like I said, we need more clarification. But anybody and everybody who was involved in that got the stench on him. And Wings is scared that he's gonna take the blunt of all of that, and Keem and Boogie are gonna be able to get away scot-free. But that's not true, because people like myself, as well as people in their very audience, call them out for sweeping for Wings. So they're kind of right there with you. Now, Wings does have something to be concerned about, where if they end up getting into a real heated argument, that maybe Keem and Boogie will pull what Becky did to Keem with the Etika thing and be like, well, you're the one who took things too far with the Kelly thing. They might do that. Oh, well, you're going to have to eat it. Just accept that shit and move on. You don't have a choice. Here's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. Locale Live isn't going to last forever. Wings should go over there and get that money while he can get it. Boogie and Keem need Wings to go over there and get that money and whatnot, so they can continue to further the brand. So when they're ready to sell the concept or the idea of the podcast later, they can get a larger cut of it. You know what I'm saying? That's what the reality of this whole situation. It's supposed to be 3 locales. Keem's a local, but there's supposed to be 3 locales and then a farmer, and they're supposed to be talking about dumb shit. If they can get Wings back, then maybe something can happen and at least ups the value for whatever you would consider valuable. If they don't, then it's just something that's hobbling along and it's probably hemorrhaging, and it's just not worth the time or the effort. And Keem realizes that. Keem can say he loves all those people and he loves everybody in the locale universe and all that bullshit, but it's bullshit. What Keem loves 2 things above everything else: his self-image and money. That's it. He doesn't give a hot fuck about anything else. That's the only 2 things on this goddamn planet that he gives a shit about. And anything that will help further those 2 things, it's worthwhile. With that being said, let me get to sunny point number 3. Keem and Locale Live, or the Locale universe as a whole, I should say, they need a redemption story. They need a redemption story. No pun intended. And that's really kind of the purpose that Wings serves. He serves as their redemption story. He kind of needs to serve the purpose of being a redeemer, not just for himself, but for the show as a whole. And that's why I think Keem is really so desperate to get him back. They need Wings to come out there, face what he did, and move forward on that. It's the only way he can redeem himself. No one else can. He needs to do it on his own. And the whole point of Locale Live, allegedly, was to bring these cows together, these locales together, and show that they do have redeemable qualities. That you can criticize them, but you can also laugh at them. This is Keem's magnum opus in trying to humanize the very people he criticizes. And that's really, I think, something that's lost in the sauce. It's something that's lost in translation on what Keem's real motives were for Locale Live. It was supposed to be a redemption story. It was supposed to humanize these people that are mocked and ridiculed for doing stupid shit that they did, that they rightfully should be criticized and mocked for. It's trying to humanize them. It's supposed to show them as a person or as people. And hey, they make mistakes, but they can bounce back from it. Now, I'm someone that'll tell you anybody has the capacity to be a locale, myself included, right? And that's just the reality. People are people. Thing is once you're kind of labeled as a locale and you're doing everything to live up to that, you're not a person no more. Not a person. You're someone that's going to be mocked to the max, and you're going to have to eat it. And you can either sit there and prosper from it, you can actually try to do better, or you can fuck off. And none of them seem to have that in them. Wings makes next to nothing doing what he's doing. So what keeps him coming back? Does he have a humiliation fetish like Boogie does? Maybe. But the reality is because he can't do anything else. He's done this shit for so long, and he was rewarded for his bad behavior and his shitty his shitty way of treating people and this, that, and the third. And whatever is being rewarded will be repeated. And that's why he can't give it up. He thinks sooner than later the pendulum will swing back his way and he'll benefit. Well, theoretically, that pendulum is lolcow. It's your fault you fucked that up. You need the money, which by proxy means Kelly needs the money. So you need to get over there and get shit done. That's kind of the whole point of a job. Not everybody likes their job, but you do what you got to do because the bills aren't going to stop. You know what I'm saying? You don't, and it's very clear that Wings doesn't want the Zaxby's to stop. So, you know what I'm saying? You got to make shit happen. But for Keem, if Keem, for all the damage that he's done over the years, if he can say that, hey, I've taken 3 or 2 of the biggest lolcows on the internet and I've humanized them and whatnot, that redeems him. So now that leads to another question, which probably leads to another video. You know how the way my mind works. Is lolcow live really for the benefit of the lolcows in question? Or is it really to the benefit of Keem? Is this Keemstar trying to clean up the situation with Alex, cleaning up the situation with Etika, cleaning up all the bullshit that he ain't done over there on Drama Alert? Is this meant to actually redeem him? Is this supposed to be his magnum opus? Is this supposed to be his way out and say, for all the damage I did, this is what I did in return that is good? And that should be acknowledged and should be recognized. We're thinking in the long term here, ladies and gentlemen. We're thinking big picture. Something to consider. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be, hopefully sooner than later. I don't think anybody's above redemption, so to speak. I think it's ironic that Jordy calls himself Wings of Redemption when he himself doesn't even understand the term. Because it's something that he doesn't feel the need to strive for. Because he doesn't really believe he did anything wrong. Just like DSP don't. Boogie fakes it. Boogie will fake anything if he can profit off of it. But you can't trust shit that he says or does. But at the end, who is this really meant to save? Is this really about saving Wings and getting him out of a bad situation? Or is it about saving Keem and his ego and his image? Keem has a kid out there. That kid takes, allegedly, does take some shit every once in a while from somebody who's touching the poo and sending her shit that her father did back in the day, and probably even now. Sure, as a father, Keem would want that to go away, but I think also Keem, as the man, wants to make sure that he comes out looking good at the end of the day. He values that more than anything, than money. But we'll wait and see if time proves me wrong. In any case, thank you guys very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it. I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be, hopefully sooner than later. Excuse me. This has been, I'll name this segment later, GTG Spits That Grease. And take care of yourselves, my people. Take care of yourselves. Later.